Welcome to the 2020 Homesteading Summit presented by the Green Dream Project. This is a special series of videos featuring permaculturists, homesteaders, farmers, gardeners, and people dedicated to sustainable living. We thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, we're Jay and Virginia from Almost Homestead. We live in a 400 square foot cabin in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains of Washington State. We live on a beautiful river and we have 4 small additional properties that are separated from our cabin, and that's where we got the Almost Homestead name. We're not all together as one homestead, but almost.
We had been looking for a vacation cabin, somewhere to get away to. We looked around. We looked at a cabin down by Mount Rainier. There didn't seem to be a lot on the market at the time, but we did find this cabin and we purchased it in November of 2014. Keeping in mind when we did buy it that there was going to have to be some work done on it.
Yeah. And at the time we were looking for more of a vacation cabin, not really a homestead. So that kind of changed. That kind of changes what you're looking for. We'd probably do it differently now if we were looking for an actual homestead. But
For sure.
so when we looked at the cabin, Jen had found the place, and we thought, oh man, we got to check this out because it looked really neat. It's on a river, just everything we had kind of wanted. And we called the real estate agent. It was on a Sunday. He's watching the football game, and he was not too excited about coming out here, but we were kind of adamant that we really wanted to see it, and he said, okay, yeah, I'll meet you out there. So we did come look at it. The place, it was definitely a distressed property. It needed a lot of work. It's basically just a mud hill with a shell of a cabin on it, and under the cabin was a mess. The posts were loose and falling off the piers and things like that. So but despite all that, we saw the potential in this place. I mean,
Yeah, we really liked it. It wasn't all that far away from where we were living, an hour and a half.
yeah.
And it's a really pretty area. And we didn't really spend a lot of time up here before that. So we were surprised that we found something so close to home that we liked so much.
Yeah. One thing we did that was key, I think, is we got a hold of a contractor right away and got a bid for how much it would cost to raise this place and replace the posts and beams underneath the cabin. So once we had that figure, a rough estimate, we could add that to the cost of the cabin, and it seemed doable, so we went ahead and started making offers, and finally offer was accepted and we got it.
So after the construction was done and we were able to get into the cabin, we had to do some things to make it more livable. There was only a subfloor and it was very dusty. It's cedar all around in there. The walls and ceiling are all cedar, and that's kind of a dusty, and so we had to do something with the floor. We decided to do a plywood floor, and I think it was a good idea. It's held up really well. We painted it brown, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, we put down a thin foam insulation under the plywood in between the subfloor and the plywood, and we actually replaced some of the subfloor because it was rotting. But once we got that down and it was painted, then at least we had some sort of floor and
Clean floor.
Yeah, later we added carpets to that.
Yeah.
So then we put in a wood stove, and then we found kitchen cabinets on Craigslist for free. So
That was a good find.
yeah,
I wanted to find a bunch of cabinets so that we could fit them, mix and match and fit them in just right. And I think we did. It's perfect. We couldn't have asked for better fitting cabinets.
yeah. And for the countertop, we just used 2x10s and I think 2x8s, and we had my dad rip them for us because he had a table saw. We didn't have one, and he lived close to our old house. So we did that. We came out, got the countertops on, and it turned out pretty good for a cheap way to put in kitchen cabinets. So that was cool. And we do like to try to do things frugally and reuse and recycle materials when we can. In 2017, after a couple years of going back and forth on should we sell the house and move up to the cabin, 2017 we finally made that move, but it was not an easy decision. Jen, being the realist and more responsible, was thinking, what are we doing? I quit my job, so quit my job and let's sell the house. And Jen's looking at her world kind of crumbling and security and stability, and I'm diving into the unknown, which, we kind of had a plan, but not really. And
I kept asking him to show me how it's going to work. Show me what we would do.
And for those first 2 years, I could not show her how it was going to work. But then the housing market started going up, and I said, okay, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to sell our house for this much. We're going to pay off all our bills. We're going to pay off the cabin, and we'll have money in the bank. Again, show me how we're going to do that. So we got a hold of a real estate agent, and we lucked out and found a great agent, really. And she came out and said, okay, for me to get you top dollar, I'm going to have you do this, this, this. So, we had to do some little projects around the place. And so we were good with that. And then she said, when you're done with all that, they were going to stage it. And so in the meantime, we started moving everything into, what are those things called?
It was a pod.
Yeah, a pod.
We had a pod delivered and just spent probably a couple months going through things and loading them into the pod. At least a month anyway. It was a while.
It was a while.
It took forever. And then we had that pod sent away and stored where they store them. And they came in and staged after we did all our maintenance stuff, which the house never looked so good, honestly.
Yeah. When they were done, we were like, oh, maybe we should stay here. It looked great. Not really our style, but it did look good.
Well, one thing I want to say too is having them come in and stage the house, it was helpful for me to not see my stuff there.
Yeah.
That was a big benefit for me to see that my stuff isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
So.
And really, if you're planning on selling your house and doing kind of the same thing a lot of us on YouTube with these channels have been doing, that where you sell your house and pay everything off, I would recommend getting someone to stage the place if the real estate agent offers that, because it made a huge difference, and I do believe that helped us get the most money for our place there. So
yeah. But when we loaded the pod and had it stored, when we were ready to use it or to unload it, we didn't really think about it, and we were moving it to a place in Seattle that would have had to have permits and parking signs, and it would have cost money for that. So we finally decided, let's just bring it back to the house. We loaded everything up in cars and trucks, and over time moved everything up north where we were taking it for storage. So
yeah,
I mean, it worked out, but we didn't know ahead of time.
Yeah, for 4 or 5 months, I think actually 6 months, we stayed in Seattle. Jen's parents have a duplex there, and we were living in one side of it. So while I was not working and the house was on the market, I would take Jen to work, drop her off, and then I would take as many trailer loads as I could to the place in Ballard in Seattle, and just kept trying to empty the house. So, I mean, when you hear, like us for instance, on YouTube saying, we sold our house and moved into our cabin, it sounds great and super fun and romantic, but it was ridiculously
It was hard,
difficult.
It was time consuming.
Yeah. Because then after we moved everything to Seattle, 6 months later, we start moving everything up here. And I'm talking everything from wood that I'd had forever,
Building
storing.
materials.
Yeah, building materials we got for free, and I didn't really want to let them go because I knew we'd use them here. So.
Oh, don't forget plants. I had
oh.
plants from our old house that I needed to move up here.
Yeah. If you're doing that, be prepared for a whole lot of work and downsizing. We had to really get rid of a lot of stuff because we were in a 5-bedroom house, and with a garage and 2 sheds and a greenhouse and a garden and all the tools that go along with that. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to go through. In fact, we still have stuff at Jen's parents' house, a few things, and our son, youngest son, is now living in the duplex in Seattle, and the basement still has our stuff. We're actually paying him a storage fee since we took up most of his basement.
And I like to go visit my stuff, so it's nice that it isn't in a storage.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need to find something. Yarn, fabric, canning supplies.
Yeah. So 6 months in Seattle, and then I moved up here. And I don't have a car up here because we only have 1 car, but I was fine with that. Jen was coming up on the weekends. We'd do a resupply run in town and grab materials if we needed them. And it was during that time from 2017 basically to now, we just started putting systems in place.
Well, it's continuous, a
Yeah.
continuous project.
Yeah, but first we needed to put in a water system. And I met a neighbor down the road who's a contractor, and he has since become one of my best friends up here. He helped me put in the water system and gave me a hot water tank, gave us a hot water tank he had laying around that was basically brand new. We hooked up that, and we ended up hooking up a toilet into a septic tank that was in the back. And up on one of our other properties where the garden is, I had to put in a driveway and a culvert, and I did that by hand, which you can see a video on our channel. So we put in the driveway, and then we built the greenhouse, built a wood storage shed, built a chicken coop. So it was just non-stop hammer out projects trying to get this place livable. And I had a lot of energy there at first and was really wailing, but man, I'll tell you, I don't know what it is lately. I'm really tired all the time, and
It might be chronic pain.
yeah, I'm in pain all the time. So that's another thing. We're in our 50s, and if you're thinking about doing this and you're older, it would probably be a better idea to have some of these systems in place already. Of course, some people are in a lot better shape than I am, and you can hammer stuff out, and if you have a lot of experience with building things, then you could do it quicker than I could.
For sure.
I basically have no experience, and Jen had more experience than me, and she taught me a lot of stuff over the years. And then one thing that really helped too, if you're going to be building things, if you've never done it before, have someone show you how to build a basic shed where you build the floor and you build the 2x4 walls and just do like a lean-to type roof. That is, my dad came over and helped us build a shed, and just learning that put me on the track to where I could build anything. Pretty much everything I've built has a leaning shed. I haven't built any kind of A-frame thing yet, but yeah, having some skills is going to help you. And if you're older, like I said, you might want to have some of the systems in place so you don't have to work so hard. For Jen, it's hard for her because since we've been doing this, she is basically living out of the car half the time.
I'm still working down by where we used to live. And, it's not a huge drive. Some people drive further every day to and from work. But I'm fortunate enough to be able to stay close to work at my parents' house during the week. So we do that. And by the time we come up here on the weekend, if we need to go to the store or go get supplies in town, it's a long drive for us to go to town when traffic's good. Sometimes traffic's bad and it takes longer, but that'll take up one of the weekend days.
So it's been hard on Jen, still working, driving back and forth, and that's one of my goals. That keeps me trying to work hard to get things done, because the goal is to get systems in place, and we're thinking our cabin here eventually would be a rental, and we would move up to one of our other properties, build a little cabin up there. That would give us the income available to get Jen to where she could leave her job and come up here. And plus we clean cabins. We're not doing it right now because of all the wackiness going on, but eventually we hope to clean cabins again as a side gig, and that business could grow for us too. So we do have income opportunities.
Yeah, the cabins that we were cleaning, they're just right here. It's a great little side job for us.
Yeah.
Right now, Jay's working on pouring a floor downstairs. He's building a basement bedroom. That'll be nice to have extra space.
We also have 15 meat birds. We have red rangers. They are ready to be processed. 10 of the 15 turned out to be roosters. So things are getting pretty rowdy in the run, so we really need to get on that. We also have our 6 egg-laying hens, and they're pretty much like our pets.
Price-wise, the cabin we ended up paying $54,500 for the cabin, and then another $17,000 to have it lifted and all of the beams and posts and a cement wall, a new cement wall that holds the front of the cabin up. We had all that work done, so the $54,500 plus $17,000 to get in here, the initial startup. Now prices have gone up 3 or 4 times since then, so this has been a great investment. I've had several people ask on our channel, what's the prices like up in your area? And so since I'm talking about prices and going up around here, give you a couple examples. In this area, around general area, for $70,000, this is what you can get. In eastern Washington, for $70,000, this is what you could get. So those are, rough examples. There's a lot that goes into a property. If it has water, if it's got power, if it has a view, if, there's all kinds of things. But in general, that's the kind of prices you see. It's cheaper over in eastern Washington and northeastern Washington, but it's a lot drier. Some places water's not readily available. It's a little more remote.
Mm-hmm. Another thing to think about living in Washington is pretty expensive. There's a lot of people, and it's an expensive place to live. Sales taxes at 10%, and property taxes, if you look on Zillow, they're just all over the board, but it could be pretty expensive.
Yeah. We're pretty lucky up here so far. I think they have the properties undervalued compared to what they're actually selling for now, so that helps. Our property taxes are pretty low. Our county last year was recognized as being the fastest growing county in the nation. So the biggest town down from us, about 40 minutes away, and you're seeing a lot of people sell in all these towns, and they're it's like the gold rush. They're getting their money out of their place because they're going for a ton of money, and everything's kind of pushing this way. You have people from Seattle. With all the shenanigans going on in Seattle, people are looking for a place to get away and have a little escape place. So we're seeing a lot more people come up here, which is good because we're getting a lot more good people up here. But it's also bringing things like more four-wheelers and motorcycles riding the dirt roads, and which kind of takes away from the quiet solitude of this place. But what are you going to do? You're in a community. If I had a four-wheeler, I'd probably be enjoying it too. So it just comes with the territory of growth, I guess, and this area is experiencing a lot of growth. So if you're thinking about moving into this area, hopefully we've kind of explained that the prices have gone up. You've got the sales tax is high, and there's just a lot of people. You get everybody's trying to spread out and find their little piece of the pie. So if I was looking in Washington, I think I would be looking towards eastern and northeastern Washington, where things are a little cheaper, and you can still find several acres and have your own little buffer from people and privacy, yet still be close enough to people where you could have somewhat of a community, I think.
Yeah, close enough to a big town where you can get services and help and groceries and all that.
Yeah, and in reality, we may look to do something of that, like that in the future, as this place grows. We kind of want more acreage to grow food. We'd like a place that's flat. you know, it would be a bummer to give up the river because it's just such a beautiful spot, but really it's just hard to do what we want to do up here on little properties. So, you know, that we'll see what the future brings. But for now, we're building on our investment and putting, you know, things in place to do the best we can up here. And maybe we'll stay here, who knows, but it just, for us, it doesn't seem like the place to age in place. As far as weather goes, on the west side of Washington, we get a lot of rain, and up here in this area, we get 73.1 inches of annual rainfall. So we get hit with a lot of rain up here. And winter, we get cold temps. You might have a few months of 30s and dipping into the 20s, and 2 weeks out of the year maybe we get snow. And the last few years we've got 3 and 4 feet of snow, where the previous years we got about a foot. So things are changing a little bit there. Summertime, we get maybe 2-3 months of actual consistent sunshine, which is pretty tough when you're gardening. It makes for a short growing season. In eastern Washington, they get a lot more sunshine, they get less rain, but they do have colder winters over there, and they tend to get quite a bit of snow when it does dump over there, and it lasts longer due to their cold temps. When we first bought this place, we looked at it. I think the second time we came out, it was raining really hard, and it was really good to see what this place looked like, where all the water was going, how it was flowing, and you could see that a lot of it was flowing under the cabin, and so we knew what we were getting into. For the next year or two, we spent that time observing where runoff was going to, and put in drains. I've got two drain fields in front of the cabin that run around the back and take the water towards the river, and then I've got 2 drain fields in the backyard that pick up water from both sides and take it over the hill and down towards the river. So that's an important thing when you're looking at your property. You'll hear that all the time, that you want to observe things before you build, because you really need to know where the water's flowing during a storm, and just, you know, it's just a good idea to observe things first. Everybody will tell you that. So yeah, rain, big challenge around here. We have a short summer around here.
We're on our 3rd year of growing things, and this year is doing much better, I think. But,
Yeah.
you know, we've also, you know, paid more attention to the soil. We got different amendments this year, like found a resource of manure, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
I think that's made a big difference.
Community can be a challenge. We have a lot of great friends and neighbors up here, and our friends up here, we all kind of help each other. We try to help them too anyway, and try to watch out for their place if it's just a vacation rental for them. But we do have, just like most people, you have to deal with drug problem and things that go along with that. So we do have those frustrations and challenges up here. It also makes it hard to make a video sometimes, depending on if they're, you know,
Making
just
a lot of noise.
making a bunch of racket or yelling at each other or
Banging
something.
on things.
Yeah, we won't go too far into detail with that, but I think that's another thing when you're looking at getting a place. You want to try to find out a little bit about the crime in your area and kind of scope out the area. Does it look like there's some meth dens around, or, you know, just kind of be aware of that when you move in. We looked around and we kind of saw, you know, a few sketchy things around here, but as the years went on, those things kind of went downhill a little bit. So that's just something to be aware of, that kind of need to
You know,
kind of watch what kind of people are in the area. And along that line too, if you're going to do this kind of thing, or if you're going to build your own place, make sure you check with the county rules, because up here we can build up to a 400 square foot structure. It has to be to code, but you don't have to get the code, what do you call it? The
Permits.
Permits, yeah. So You just have to build it to code. Anything over 400, then yes, you got to get permits. Some places only allow like 120 square foot. I know there's a few places in eastern Washington where you have to be careful of that. So you just want to check with your county that you're planning on moving to, and just make sure you know what you're getting into so you don't get into trouble there. Being in a tiny home has its challenges. Our place is 400 square feet. It's actually, on the paperwork, it's 397 square feet. So, yeah, that's been a challenge of going from a 5-bedroom house in suburbia to a 400 square foot box.
Another thing to keep in mind when you're going to make a change like this and change your lifestyle drastically is whether or not you have a spouse that's on board with your plans.
Yeah, you hear, we've seen a lot of comments on videos and our videos saying, oh, I really want to do this, but my spouse is not into it at all. I guess the one bit of advice I would give there is try to slowly integrate the YouTube homesteading videos into your repertoire of things that you watch together, and maybe show how you're going to make that transition. I think I may have mentioned already, Jen, you know, I harped on her for 2 years. We can do this. I look at these YouTube guys. I used to watch the Fouch family off grid, and that's who really got me going on this at first. And yeah, so I would tell Jen, look, we can do this, and her answer every time was show me how, and I couldn't show her how, so I'd crawl back to my hole, watch my YouTube videos, and eat ice cream and cry.
But eventually he showed me how by doing.
By dragging her
That was
into
my
it.
choices.
So yes, so it's great if you can show the person slowly, and then if they don't agree, just drag them into it. It does wonders for your marriage. We had some rough times, I will say for sure. And Jen, I think Jen obviously had the harder time because all of her security is gone. She's still driving to a job. I'm up here at the cabin working on stuff, and really, it changed my life. And she's still in the same rat race, which I don't like, and that's why I'm really trying to get things in place so she can get up here. It kind of keeps me going, keeps me motivated to get things done, because I want her up here all the time. And so that's been the real difficult thing to deal with, really.
Yeah, that is a difficult thing. But it's not that far of a drive. Other people do it daily, and I'm fortunate enough that I don't have to do that. But
yeah, and there is the satisfaction of knowing we don't have debt anymore. We don't have a mortgage.
Yeah, we don't have to pay our house payment that we were paying for 18 years, and taking care of that big yard that would never be completely weeded at one time. So, this cabin is paid for. It's livable. The projects we do are just to make it better. It's livable and it's paid for. That's a great peace of mind for me, for both of us.
Yeah. So if you're considering doing something like this, there's hardships along the way, and you got to figure out what you can do to make it happen. But if you can make it happen, it's really rewarding, and it's challenging too. I mean, it's still challenging for us, obviously, because we can't get Jen up here yet. So that's part of it. So I think to wrap up, some things to consider would be your age and your physical ability. Are you a young buck that can, you still got a lot of strength, and if you get hurt, you're right back on your feet again? That makes a huge difference. We're in our 50s, and I feel it when I do a project. We both do. And if I seems like I'm getting hurt and got a pain of the day, pain of the month, and it takes a lot longer to heal from that at our age. So consider that your physical ability. And maybe if you're looking to get a place, if you are older like us, it's probably a lot easier to get a place that has some, that already has systems in place. I don't know if we already mentioned that earlier, but we're kind of recapping on things to consider, and that is a big one. If you're older, you might want to find a place that has things set up so you don't have to work so hard.
Don't buy a vacation home.
Yeah. Don't buy a don't buy a distressed property unless you're willing to work real hard to get it livable. The other thing to consider, do you have a lot of debt? Do you have money in savings? Do you have a house or property that you could sell that could fund your off-grid or homesteading adventure? Have some kind of plan. Everybody says that. We kind of went into it with an idea. I don't know if we had a plan, but we had an idea, and we kind of had a plan that here's what we're going to do. We're going to get up there. We're going to get systems in place. We'll make a rental or two and do odd jobs, and that'll bring in enough to where we can live a frugal, meager lifestyle. And we're still working towards that after a couple of years. So things take longer than you might think. Yeah. So keep that in mind. Yeah, do you have a lot of debt? If so, try to get rid of that as soon as you can. If you have skills or building skills or anything like that, handyman like that, stuff like that, you can probably stay pretty busy, especially if you're in a community like ours. If you're a contractor up here, my friend, a contractor, Jen, and our friend down the road, he stays as busy as he wants to be, and there's a couple other people here that they get as much work as they want to do handyman type stuff. So if you have those skills, that's a good thing, because that's another way to make some income. All right, that about does it for us. We're hoping that this video helps somebody if you're considering making this lifestyle change. If you like what you see, come on over to Almost Homestead and check out our channel and follow our journey. If you have any questions, definitely fire away and we'll answer to the best of our ability. We want to thank Jim and Jessica over at the Green Dream Project for asking us to participate in the 2020 Green Steading Summit. It's been a good time, and you guys are doing good things out there. Keep up the good work. It was a good time. Thanks a lot, you guys, and we will see everybody later.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Once again, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to check out the other summit videos as well. They'll be available for a limited time on the Green Dream Project YouTube channel. Remember to check out the links in the video description for more information on our speakers and to find out how to get access to all the summit videos to watch anytime.